The main division I see is the difference between people who want to be self-responsible and people who are taking a victim stance, right? And so I'm working with people to overcome this victim stance because through their experiences, they're either going to say, you know what, I'm going to take control over my life and I'm going to take control over my identity. And I have people who are my clients who actually voted for Trump. And I talk to them. And these are the people that are like, look, I'm about responsibility. I'm not about being a victim anymore. I don't want to identify as being oppressed. And so they say, look, I don't care about what other people think. I'm going to vote to my interests, right? So, you know, I'm talking about overcoming trauma, overcoming all of the experiences that helped you to formulate a self-identity where you identify with victimization. So I see that as a division.
So talking about that, I want to turn to Clay. You are working on a new book called The Grift, right? Which is how the Republican Party has taken advantage of black people for, I don't know, since their inception. But talk about that for just a second, this idea that there are black men out there, right, and black women out there that went to vote for Trump, to his point, because we wanted to take responsibility, or the thought or the notion that they wanted to take responsibility.
Well, you know, I think it's complicated because we all use this word monolith, and I want to echo Mr. Ingram's point here. No, we aren't all a monolith, but we have to all be a monolith against white supremacy. Full stop. Like, if we're not a monolith against white supremacy, it's a problem. And I think about the Congressional Black Caucus being formed. I think about Shirley Chisholm. I think about August Hawkins. I think about Charlie Rangel. And there was so much diversity within this CBC, the founding in 1971. But they were a monolith against the structures, the foundations that were oppressing them and their communities. So if I think of someone, if you talk about black Republicans, someone like South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, who refuses to be a part of the CBC, right? So if there are people who are taking, I guess, looking themselves as a victim, and I don't see black folks in any ways being victims. We have been self-reliant for years, from being enslaved to sharecropping to the Jim Crow. So this idea is, I'm going to be a Republican and I'm going to support Trump because I'm not a victim. Show me the victim. I don't see John Lewis being a victim. I don't see Barack Obama being a victim. But we have to have a clear vision of the ways in which people are trying to take away our rights, take away our right to vote, our right to exist. That has to be clear. So for me, when it comes to white supremacy, when it comes to the threat to our democracy, I am a full monolith against that. And I think it's so important that collectively we're all on the same page. The ways in which the founders of the CBC were on the same page with that, within their diversity of blackness. I think about, you didn't hear Frederick Douglass saying, we have to understand how the Confederates feel. We have to understand how Southern Democrats feel, how Dixiecrats feel. I want us to have that kind of passion of our political leaders who understood what the enemy was, pointed it out, and did all the things they could to defeat it.
So I want to stay with you for a second, Clay, because you're talking about being a monolith against white supremacy, because white supremacy comes in so many different layers and forms and packages, and one of those things is and how it's because it's insidious, right? And how it divides our community is it tells us that, well, because these people choose to love that way, then they have to be outside. Because this group of people want to have choice when they go to the doctor, they must be outside. And so what you see oftentimes is white supremacy taking on a different form, a different name, a different face, a different shape, sort of seeps in like water and begins to create these micro cracks within the community that causes us not to be a monolith against white supremacy and a monolith for democracy. So